The Marlins need a change, but will they? I'm not sure I'm seeing it just yet. The Marlins had a chance to change before this Pittsburgh series, but it's the same old guys in the same old spots, and perhaps we're going to get the same old results. We're going to dive into the news around Jazz Chisholm, Cody Poteet, subsequent roster moves, and what the lineup is looking like, and the pitching matchups for this series, this 3-game series against the Pittsburgh Pirates in Pittsburgh. Let's go.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins again. Another episode on Friday, 2 episodes on Friday. I had to split it up. Go and listen to episode 1 if indeed that is the right title for it, where I get into the Don Mattingly post-game presser after yesterday's 8-0 defeat to the Texas Rangers. A 1-game series in Miami, coming off the All-Star break. No juice, no runs, just plenty of fun after the game from Don Mattingly. Today, we're going to dig into the news. Jazz Chisholm news, Cody Poteet news, corresponding moves, lineups are announced, pitching matchups, all of the stuff we're going to catch you up on today's Locked On Marlins. And it's just me again, solo pod, 2 solo pods on a row on the spin. And happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter if you're not already. You're missing out, of course. So at Miami Marlins _UK. Please follow the show. Subscribe either to YouTube or wherever you get your pods. It's live, it's free and available everywhere, so dive in and enjoy. Reminder, it's a daily pod. Monday to Friday, 5 episodes. 5 episodes, and this is episode 5 of the week. And I'll raise my glass to that. Cheers, everyone. And let's get into the news. Let's get started with the news. Actually, before we do that, there is a show sponsor, a main sponsor for today, and it's our guys at BetOnline. And today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline, and they have you covered with this season, with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. More about those guys later on. Okay, where to start? We have to start with the main news that came out today. Craig Mish, Jordan McPherson on the report on that one. The Herald boys getting into it. Jazz Chisholm had a CT scan. Did say we heard it earlier in the week. He was talking about it. I can swing, but I can't run. Okay, that's a bit of a worry. Went and had a scan, and the results are not good. There is a problem with Jazz, a spinal issue with his back, and the prognosis does not look good. Looks a relatively long-term situation where Jazz, best case, will be out for the next 6 weeks. At least. That's the earliest. So let's see. Let me just go back and work out the exact issue. It was a stress fracture. Some made the joke to say, well, that's from carrying the team on his back all year, which I think was a point well made. But a stress fracture in Jazz's back, minimum 6-week time frame. And boy, oh boy, whenever I hear a time frame from the Marlins and their early assessments, you need to usually double it, triple it, quadruple it, or add multiple years onto it. I think back to Jesus Luzardo, looks like 1 start missed. We think back to Sixto Sanchez. They're not very good at accurately assessing how long it's going to be. So, Friday, 22nd of July, right now, 6 weeks on, that takes you into, second week of September. Sounds to me like the Marlins are going to be out of it. Sounds to me like the season is over for Jazz Chisholm Jr. this year. I think it's 90% likely, doing a Craig Mish thing here, 90% likely that Jazz Chisholm is out for the rest of the year for the Marlins. The best second baseman in the National League, maybe in baseball. Actually, no, not maybe. He is the best second baseman in baseball for all he brings, the juice he brings, the swag, and the ability, everything in the field. Jazz Chisholm voted in as an all-star starter. Yes, a Marlin was voted in as a starter, out for the rest of the year. Big blow for the fish. Big blow. A week ago, we were thinking, okay, Jazz, is he going to be back straight after the All-Star break? The Marlins play well against the Pirates, play well against the Phils. Here we go. Great stretch of games. More Pirates, more Reds, bit of Mets, more Reds. Winnable series. Oh boy, this has shifted and gone sideways so far and so quickly. It's crazy. It's crazy. And to think, in between all of this as well, Sandy Alcantara's still doing his thing. Pablo's still doing his thing. Trevor's improving. Max Meyer's up. I mean, as fans and as a team, we should be on the cusp of greatness. Somehow, in the last 2 weeks, it has gone so sideways, so rapidly. It's crazy. And so I'm going to call it, guys. I'm going to call it right now. Jazz Chisholm, he's done for the year because the Marlins are going to be selling at the deadline. They may well improve, though, once they sell some of these guys and move on. Go back to yesterday's performance and the performances before that. Like, this team, it's been obvious to me for months that something hasn't been right. We never fully got to the bottom of this players' meeting, let's be honest. There was a lot of reporting around it and a lot of hyperbole created around the players don't like Jazz and they don't like the clothes he wears and stuff. But we never got to the bottom of it. Maybe so. It was a players' meeting. But just going back to that, Don Mattingly made that not a players' meeting. He started that story. Don Mattingly did. And the quotes that he gave out and started to put the smoke out there where he's basically saying that players were coming to him and slagging other guys off. And he's like, listen, you're grown men. Have a conversation with them. No, it didn't happen. Clubhouse vibes are off. What's going on? Players meeting. Yeah, you saw the episode with Craig Mish a few months back. I don't know if that was, there was more to it than that. Nevertheless, this clubhouse in totality has been off all year, fully off. They've never recovered. It's been since that first series in San Fran. I could see the problems already. They went to Anaheim. Could see the problems there. Thought, this doesn't look good. I'm not getting the vibes. I'm not getting good vibes and haven't had good vibes at all year long. So disappointing. Jazz is out. Where do they go now? That is the question. That is the question. Other news. Cody Poteet returned and is now back on the 15-day IL for Cody Poteet. Let me just bring up the injury itself, which just dropped very much as I hit record. And Poteet, I think it's an elbow inflammation. Let me just check this out. Should have had this queued up. Yeah, right elbow inflammation, retroactive. Jordan Holloway is up. Holloway's up for, I think, his first stint this season. He's been in AAA. He's not been going great in AAA either. He's got a 6.62 ERA, a 6.41 FIP in 17 innings. So, boy, oh boy, it's not been good for Holloway. Maybe he'll come alive again. But, yeah, really bad news for Poteet. Obviously, was one of the early darlings for the Marlins. And, obviously was in that longman role, then was maybe as a starter, went down, back up, got blown up a bit. Then, okay, inflammation again to the elbow, which never sounds good. To me, that's a decent shot that Cody Poteet's done for the year as well. So Holloway up. They've already added Nance to the roster because of Eliezer Hernandez, no designation, which we know what that means. Eliezer down with COVID. So, another blow for the Marlins, like in the pen anyway. Like Tommy Nance for me, boy, oh boy, Tommy Nance has not been good. They're going to have to maybe carry on with him. Likely they sell a reliever or two. I think Bassman is definitely on the shop. He's in the shop front, no doubt. Like Bassman's there. He's been absolutely sensational. People want arms. They want bullpen arms. So Bassman's going to be definitely discussed. We'll talk about some of the trade options shortly now. But before we do that, guys, reminder this episode is brought to you by good friends over at LinkedIn. And as the sun comes out and maybe goes down, small businesses are back in business. LinkedIn Jobs makes it easier to grow your team. And LinkedIn Jobs help you find the people you want to interview faster and maybe more importantly, for free. You can create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job and the purple hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So, LinkedIn Jobs, they help you find candidates you want to talk to faster. And did you know, bit of trivia now, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn. 40 million. Boy, oh boy, that's every week 40 million. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Okay then, guys. So Jazz, I think, done for the year. Cody Poteet, done for the year. Bad news for the Fish. I think they most likely flex to sellers and will look to move some pieces. There's going to be a lot of hyperbole, a lot of conversation about this, no doubt. I wanted to go back, though, to yesterday and briefly touch on Jacob Berry, who we got to see up close and personal. Took BP before the game from both sides of the plate, too. Also spent some time in the booth, conversations with JP and Paul Severino, which was great. Key takeaways for me: he looks like a beast with a stick. Like, he looks like he could be a legit hitter. Going back to Donnie yesterday, saying, "Hey, we've got all the same guy." All of a sudden, Jacob Berry, I'm just gonna nickname him or just rename him as Jacob Barrels. Like, he's just out there with confidence, oozing confidence. No one barrels it up like me in the game. So that's what we want to see. We need it. We absolutely need it. No bloops, no muscled singles, oppos. We just need barrels. Give me those barrels, baby. And that's what I want to see from Jacob Berry. Looked impressive in BP. The boy can get after it. I think a lot of hitters look impressive in BP. So, nevertheless, I don't think he had all the equipment. He wasn't maybe quite ready for it, but he got up there and ripped a few and looked good. Couple of bombs. Love to see it. What did you make of the third base highlight reel, if we can call it that? Looked a little bit stiff, not going to lie. Looked a little bit tentative, a little bit stiff. As it was mentioned post-draft, does he have a position? Is he a DH? Is he a first baseman? Is he a third baseman? Based on what I saw in those, fielding a couple of grounders, it kind of reminded me of some of the rehab things I've seen from Sixto, where it doesn't quite look full speed, doesn't quite look natural, and your gut feel is he's not going to be playing at third base at the major leagues. And frankly, I don't care. I don't care at all. If the guy can hit, we'll find a spot. I don't care. And the beauty is these days, there's a DH. It's a DH. It doesn't matter. If he can hit and flat out hit, as we've seen, the Marlins desperately need hitters. They desperately do. And so if the dude can hit, he's DHing. That's it. No drama. Cooper bloop into first base. Platoon it up with Lewin. I don't know. You'll find a way. We're still a few years off. Coop, he's only got one more year of control, by the way. So, the Marlins will have a decision to make by the time Jacob Berry's kind of ready to go anyway. So we'll wait and see how that plays out. And frankly, the Marlins, not to go off on a segue here, but you know me, the Marlins have a decision to make about Garrett Cooper right now at this deadline, to be honest with you, as he has got a year and a half of control. He's currently an all-star. He's hitting 285, whatever it may be. Marlins are dead here. Let's listen on Coop. You got to listen. What are you looking for back? You've got to find a way to plug center field. You really do. Or you've got to look at, a very, very near ready major league level shortstop. Very near. Clearly, like Miggy Rowe, no problem with Miggy. And listen, Miggy Rowe should be in the shop window as well. He absolutely should right now. His arm the defense is sensational. Big clubhouse guy. The clubhouse has gone sideways this year, in my opinion. There's a locker room vibe I don't like. So I'm kind of wondering how Miggy fits into all of that. But nevertheless, the Marlins should listen on Miggy too. And so it wouldn't be a total shocker if Miggy or Coop or both are moved at this deadline. It really wouldn't. But back to Jacob Berry. The other takeaways. So main takeaways are BP looked nice, can hit from both sides. He calls himself, he says, all the barrels and whatever. Great to hear. Defensively, didn't look good. I don't care. When I heard him on the broadcast itself, sounded good. Equally, when I looked at him, he looked old. He looked ready. He looked like a big leaguer to me already. So he was sitting there next to Paul Severino. They look like brothers. They look like the same age. So I think that dude is going to accelerate through this system rapidly, mainly because the Marlins need it. They need him to be good and be up there. The timeline, honest to God, could be, he's making his debut in 2023 at some stage. Maybe, clearly maybe the back end, second half, whatever it may be. Who knows? Maybe he comes in, hits the ground running now, has a good spring. Who knows? Maybe he cracks opening day. I mean, boy, oh boy, that would be absolutely rushed. But we'll see what this roster's looking like by the time they get around to that. So that's going to be interesting. But good early impressions on Jacob Berry. Both in terms of the person, he speaks well. He sounds and looks grown up. He looks grown up in BP, for sure. He looks limited at third base, it's fair to say. And like I said, frankly, I don't care. I don't care. Doesn't matter. We just need hitters. We absolutely do. We'll get into the Pirates series shortly. Before we do that, reminder, this episode is also brought to you by our good friends over at BetOnline. And BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. You can find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. You can find reviews and news of every league. That includes Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. They make that sound like golf's, an upcoming sport. It's one of the oldest sports in the world, even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They have you covered. You can head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. And what action do we have today? We have the series against the Pirates starting. And this is what's so painful. Like, the Marlins could have just played better baseball, the week before the All-Star break. They went 2-5. 2-5. They could have just played some better baseball. They'd be right in the mix. They've currently lost 4 on the spin. They've been shut out 3 on the spin. They're 43-49. 6 games under 500. In the wild card hunt, they're 6 games back to the Phils. So, are they dead yet? Are they dead at 6 games back? I mean, the Rockies are 6.5 games back. No one's talking about the Rockies at all. No mention of the Rockies in this wild card hunt. So for me, that says the Marlins equally are cooked. Phillies, Cardinals, Giants. Those 3, plus the Brewers, I guess, because the Cardinals are battling with the Brew Crew there. So, whoever's second in the division, plus the Phils, plus the Giants, all battling. Marlins are out of it. How are we looking from a pitching perspective? Braxton Garrett going. He's 1 of 3 with a 3.7 ERA today. So Brax is having a real nice run. I'm really intrigued to see the way the Marlins play this with both Luzardo and Edward Cabrera, I believe, making 4-inning starts, scheduled starts, I believe, today. So those boys are coming back in a hurry too. That then creates a problem for the Fish. A nice one, maybe. Equally, what does it mean from a trade perspective? All of a sudden, if all 7 are available, they're healthy. I'm taking Sandy out of this list, but theoretically, the other 6 all available for conversations, all available. So it's going to be interesting. That's good wine. So Braxton Garrett going against Zach Thompson. Old friend Zach Thompson pitched well against the Fish last week. He's 3-6, but with a 4.09 ERA. He's pitching well. It's going to be a test again against Zach Thompson. When will the Marlins score another run? We just don't know. They're a couple of innings away from their worst scoreless streak in terms of number of innings. So wouldn't it be funny if Zach Thompson ended up putting that nail in the Marlins' coffin and helping them to set a new record? That would be kind of wild. Then on Saturday, again, unfortunately, it's a 5 past midnight Saturday game. Not been used to them. I'm normally used to the UK-friendly 9-10 slot. But anyway, Max Meyer goes in his second start, and he's going up against Jose Quintana. who's 2-5. We shouldn't look at that too much, but with a 3.99 ERA, Quintana's been nice this year. Nice. We didn't see him in the last series, but I guess effectively now we see the Pirates ace on Saturday going up against Max Meyer. He's 0-1 with an 8.44 ERA. A little bit inflated, but I think Max continues his path here. Sunday, Sandy Sundays. UK friendly also, but Sandy's going. He's 9-4 with a 1.76 ERA. Going against Mitch Keller. And let's remember, Mitch Keller pitched a gem as well the last time around. He's 3-7 with a 4.55 ERA. So based on what I'm seeing here, we've got Keller and Thompson that we saw in the last series. Both pitch really well. Plus the ace Quintana. This 3-game series here for the Fish. I mean, it's another banana skin, isn't it? But where are your heads at right now? Where are your heads at? Based on what you've seen the past few days, plus Donnie's post-game, do you just want the Marlins to blow this up now? Stop. There's no hope. Do you want us to get into that space now where they just get absolutely obliterated in Pittsburgh and you go, okay, great, we can finally just rule this out. No Jazz, team's dead. Let's just sell what we can and retool it. It isn't a full rebuild. It's not rebuild mode, in my opinion. It shouldn't be anyway. But retool is the question. The lineup is out for game 1. Like I said, there was only one roster move. I was wondering if they may get Lewin Diaz or JJ Bleday up in the mix. But that hasn't happened. So the one roster move was Cody Poteet. And then the lineup is out. And we'll just quickly look at that before we wrap up this episode. Joey Wendell again in the leadoff spot. He should be. Cooper Loop, Jesus Aguilar. The cleanup spot, Brian Anderson. Avisail Garcia in the 5-hole. Miguel Rojas, El Capitan, in the 6 spot. Jorge Soler in the 7 spot. Boy, oh boy, Soler. He was immovable from the 3-hole earlier in the year. He's then come back from injury, slotted into the cleanup spot, did next to nothing, and now has slid all the way down to the 7-hole. Boy, oh boy. I mean, what's going on here? Is maybe Donnie trying to split up Aguilar, Avi, and Soler? Because that's what he's done here. And basically the power slider guys that get stung by the low and away sliders, trying to break him up a bit in Aggie, Avi, and Soler. I wonder. Jesus Sanchez continues. He's playing again. He's in the 8-hole now. I mean, again, Sanchez has just been having a torrid run. Nick Fortes doing the catching as he's done all year with Braxton Garrett. And has cooled slightly with the bat, but the interesting bit is Nick Fortes and Jorge Soler, when they hit the ball, it stays hit, in my opinion. They're hitting the balls hard for sure. But listen, this is pretty much, other than the catcher, we had Stallings in yesterday. This is pretty much the lineup from yesterday. And they just got blanked again, 8-0. Maybe Donnie's just putting it out there to say, listen, no off days. You remember before the All-Star break when he was saying about that and talking about, no workload management. People have got to be in there every day. After that, now he's saying the big boys have got to go. You got to go. It's over to the big boys. If they're not doing anything, then this club isn't doing anything. So, got to trust your guys equally. There's no real way. Like, the way this roster's built, the way the contracts are built before the deadline, Donnie really has limited flexibility about what he can do. Jesus Sanchez, for me, is an obvious one that they could option down if they wanted to bring up Bleday. But again, you bring in Lewin Diaz, still in the same spot. We've been in the same spot now for 2 seasons. You got Coop and you got Aggie. They're blocking Lewin. Aguilar's an expiring deal. They're not getting much back for Aguilar. They're really not. Like, you're looking for, like, I don't know, a top 50 in the system prospect type of guy. Aggie, with the contract and the performance and the expiring deal, he's not going to get much back. They should just wave him and roll. Wave and roll with Aggie, get Lewin up and just stop messing around and let Lewin settle in maybe against, the Pirates and the Reds. Get himself settled in. I'd like to see it. We need some more lefty power. It's been obvious. It's been missing for some time. And again, Jesus Sanchez has been given an extraordinarily long leash this year. It's offensively, it's not been good. It's not been good from anyone, if we're completely honest. So it's funny. Same old lineup, same old guys. What are we expecting? Are we expecting anything different? I mean, if we could score a run, that'd be nice. It would. It wouldn't shock me though if Zach Thompson is the guy and he ends up going six innings, 0 earned runs, and the Marlins continue their streak. I don't think they get shut out tonight. I mean, I can't believe I'm even having this conversation with myself, but I can't believe we're even talking about this, that we're worried about the Marlins being shut out again by the Pittsburgh Pirates on the road. Just for context here, the Pirates, I mean, when the last series ended, I did say that they're the best in terms of run differential. The Pirates are currently minus 134. They're third in the division, by the way, 39 and 54, 11 games back of the Brew Crew. But I did say they're the best, minus 134. I think they're 125 maybe back then. But they're the best 134 negative run diff team that I've seen. I thought they played well against the Fish. They pitched well. But again, the Marlins hitters are making them look good. The Marlins pitchers, I mean, they pitch fine. But Brian Reynolds was missing. I mean, the Marlins really labored through that series. They were lucky to split it. So, big 3-game series. I say big. I think we're past that point now. It's a big 3-game series for some guys and their careers. And I'm very intrigued to see the way the Fish play this out in the next week and a bit. This deadline is going to be absolutely intriguing. Craig Mish put it out there earlier. They'll listen on anyone. And I mean, that is a scary and interesting and topical way to think about it. Everyone available? Most likely, I mean, like I said, Aguilar's got to go. He just has to go. They have to move on from Aggie. And if they can't find anything, they just got to waive him and just roll. Just see what happens. It's not about what you get back for Aggie. It's about creating the opportunity for Lewin Diaz that they need to. They need to balance it out for the roster for sure. What are they doing with Soler and Avi Garcia? Can they get anyone to take them? Clearly, Avisail Garcia is the priority there because it's been so bad with Avi. Really has. The attitude stinks. The production stinks. Everything about it stinks. The contract stinks. Can they convince anyone to take Avisail Garcia? Has anyone got where they're happy to just kind of take a punt? I don't know. I hope so. Imagine that. Imagine if they sent Avisail Garcia to the Braves. That would be sensational. We'd take a backup catcher for him. No problem. There you go. That'd be the perfect match. Backup catcher from the Bravos, Avisail Garcia to the Bravos. There you go. Braves, World Series 22, confirmed. We'll wait and see, but I clearly if they can move Aggie, that would be sensational. Soler, I think, is movable. And actually, it wouldn't shock me if the Braves find a way to get a deal to get Soler over. They'll send nothing back to the Marlins. The Marlins just want to clear the money, the potential future money, and really, just move on, I guess, on that one. Really, going back to the point that Craig Mish made on his last swings and misses, I believe, talking about the infield, the fact that when it's healthy, there's too many guys. It isn't healthy right now. Jazz is going to be out for the rest of the year. Birdie's kind of, working his way back. So there'll always be injuries. But Brian Anderson, Joey Wendell, both 1 more years of control after this. Miguel Rojas, I believe the same. So, those 3 plus Aggie, so that's 4 within your infield cluster. I mean, Coop, let's call Coop too. He's only got 1 year of control as well. This aging infield, other than Jazz and Birdie, in my opinion, all up for debate, all up for conversations. And Craig was calling out, at least one should be moved. One should be. I don't think that includes Aguilar. I think he's more talking about the middle infield plus third base situation. Joey Wendell's been a nice piece. I've got to call it out. He's been really impressive, in my opinion, and is probably the highest valued guy in there. Brian Anderson has had some real struggles at third base. I mean, just it seems like he's getting hard balls hit at him and he's struggling to stop them. He's getting unlucky, whatever. There was another one again last night. Yesterday, there was tons of them pre the All-Star break. I'm intrigued. The Marlins have never committed to BA. They haven't. There was this pay BA thing rolling and they never did it. And BA could be the one. It could be. I like Wendell. I think Wendell's a better player than BA personally. And BA's, a nice third baseman, clearly. Defensively, he has been great at times. In the main, he has been great. But I think a change of scenery would be interesting there. And then, like I said earlier, Miggy Rowe. Very interesting. Very, very interesting situation there for the Fish. He's been around the team, the club, longer than anyone. It's the El Capitan. But in another down year for the Fish, and he's on relatively low money in comparison to the previous years and the war. People are going to be thinking about Miggy. They are. And so I think the Marlins will be listening on him. I think they'll be listening on Coop. I think they'll be listening on Aggie, Wendell, BA, all of them. All of them are in scope. Avi's in scope. Soler's in scope. Frankly, that's the whole roster. We've got the whole roster up for sale. Basically, anyone other than Jazz. And listen, they should listen on Birdie too. But I think with the money on Bert, I think maybe you should look to keep him. And he adds a bit of the spice that Donnie was kind of calling out that they're missing. So all those guys that can't run that Donnie said, they're all available. So we'll wait and see. We're going to call it there. It's Locked On Marlins, Friday edition, part 2. Part 1, the Don Mattingly recap. Part 2, injury recap. This one, plus looking ahead to the series and maybe starting to tease out trade deadline conversations. We'll be talking loads more about that as we get into next week, for sure. So, guys, thanks for listening to Locked On Marlins and making Locked On Marlins, well, for this episode, probably your second listen. If you want to make your third listen, maybe second listen, head over to Locked On MLB Prospects. Lindsey Crosby is hosting that one. Dives into all the prospect talk, post-draft, all the signings, everything. You'll have it covered. So dig into that one, guys. In the meantime, let's enjoy this series against the Pirates. I am very intrigued to see where this goes. We need to break this streak of being shut out. Are we going to do it? I mean, we will at some point, but I'm not certain. I think the Marlins could well set the record for the most consecutive innings of 0-run ball. Nevertheless, hope you've enjoyed the show. Be back next week on Monday to recap, hopefully, a fun series against the Pirates at the very, very least.